Hi everyone, Coach Alexa here. For those watching this video on the sort of day of publish, I am helping a lot of people prepare for the final few days before the London Marathon at the moment. So I thought I'd take that opportunity to have a little bit of a chat about what to do after a marathon. There's a whole host of information out there, loads of stuff on my YouTube channel, my blog, all sorts of stuff that I can share with you about preparing for a marathon and the days before and all on the race itself, all that sort of stuff. So have a bit of a scroll through if you're looking for that kind of thing. But one topic that I think we're very bad at thinking about as runners is what to do afterwards. So let's have a little bit of a think. You've come over the finish line. One of the things to think about is to keep moving, I would say, is the most important thing. A lot of people stop dead, press pause or stop on their GPS watch, but keep moving if you can, just a gentle walk. What can happen sometimes, especially if you've done a kind of finish line sprint, you've really gone for it and you stop dead in your tracks, is that the muscles are no longer pumping to push the blood back up to your heart and lungs and brain. So sometimes particularly if you've done that sprint finish, the blood can pool in your legs and leave you a bit nauseous or dizzy at the finish. So keep moving, keep gently walking, get some warm clothes on, particularly if the weather's going to be a little bit rainy or cool in the race, or rainy during the race, because you'll be finishing wet. You'll get very cold very quickly. You don't want the muscles to stiffen up. You want to be thinking then about getting some energy in. Two things you need to think about from a food perspective. One, refueling with some carbohydrate, because you'll be pretty low, if not empty. The fuel warning light will be on your carbohydrate fuel tank. And the other one is protein. So some sort of healthy protein source will be great, because that is what our body starts using to rebuild and repair our muscles, our joints, our bones, our tendons, our ligaments from after the race. Hydration is also another great one to think about. So just having a drink of something. If it's a cold day, have a hot drink, that's absolutely fine. Just making sure that you get some hydration inside of you. If it's been a really, really hot day, it might be worth thinking about having something with some electrolytes in it. You want to be thinking about getting those in relatively quickly. There is this 90-minute window where your body better uses any protein that you take on board after you finish a tough training session or a race. But after a marathon, when, as I say, your hydration levels and your carbohydrate store levels are going to be really quite low, you want to be taking them on pretty much as soon as you finish. So think about putting some stuff in your drop bag in order to get some fuel and some drink into your body as soon as possible. The next biggest thing to think about on the day is keeping warm, getting changed, keeping moving, getting home, having a nap if you can, because there is literally nothing better than sleep to help for recovery. We do a lot of our recovery when we're sleeping in the same way that kids do a lot of their growing when they're sleeping. It's pretty much the same mechanism. So having a little bit of a nap, having a hearty meal, some healthy food, as I say, balance of carbohydrate, protein, some healthy fats, and plenty of nutrients. So loads of sort of vegetables, legumes, that sort of thing. All of those nutrients from your food, the vitamins and minerals, will also be used up by your body to help recover. Plenty of fresh food as well with vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, and we actually create more free radicals when we exercise. So it's important to be eating a few more of those free radicals from fresh foods as well. Thinking further down the line, we want to be prioritising sleep and some gentle movement for the first week or so post a big race like a marathon, for example, or an ultra. So sleep is, as I said, the best tool for marathon recovery. I generally don't get anybody to do much running at all, really. It varies person to person, but I wouldn't bother doing any running in the first week after a big race. The second week after that big race, I operate on a bit of a run if you want to sort of schedule. So, you might have 3 maybe short, very gentle runs penciled into your diary to do for that second week post-race. But if you don't fancy doing them, if your body's not feeling great, then don't do them. Third week, maybe that's about getting a little bit more back into the routine and the sort of training you were doing. So the number of runs per week that you were doing, and gradually starting to build the distance, and maybe sprinkling in a little bit of intensity if you fancy it. Longer term, when somebody that I've been working with has been training towards a big, longer distance goal race, like a marathon or something longer, I always quite like to get them to change their focus for a bit. So that doesn't have to be focusing on a different goal, just to say we're quite goal and race driven as runners, aren't we? But the goals don't have to be races. So this might be just taking a couple of months to maybe reflect back on what you learned from all of the training for that race that you've just done. Are there any areas that you think you could have improved on? Could you have done more strength training? Probably. I think for most runners the answer is yes. Could I have done more mobility stuff? Could I have introduced yoga? And also, what did I enjoy about the training? What were the styles of run that I really enjoyed? And use the answers to some of those questions to kind of put together a few focus areas for maybe 2 or 3 months afterwards. Running might just tick over for a bit because you're focusing on really increasing another aspect of training that's going to complement your running. So strength training, for example. If you are a very goal-driven person and can't live without the next thing to focus on, then my suggestion, entirely up to you of course, but my suggestion would be, in the medium term at least, focus on something different. So you've trained for a long build up for a long race with a marathon or an ultra, so focus on something a bit different. Do a bit of speed work for a while, maybe see if you can get your 5k time down a little bit. You know, give your body something a bit different to focus on after that initial post-marathon recovery phase. There's a bit of talk about kind of maintenance miles, and you know that's fine. You know, you focus on what you enjoy. If you enjoy running on the trails and you've been doing a lot of road running recently to prepare for the marathon, if you've discovered that actually you really like doing hill sessions, then do some of them and not the things that you don't enjoy as much. But I would always have a little bit in the back of your mind, perhaps to as I say, reflect back on things that you could add in at that sort of maintenance stage that are going to build a really great base for whatever you might choose to do next. So yeah, strength training is a great one. Are you going to start trying some Pilates, some yoga? Are you going to work a little bit on your running technique, which is to reduce injury risk, which is a great thing to do when you're not focusing on big, juicy race goals. Hope that's helpful. Let me know any questions.